All right. Good morning, everybody. Uh, my name is Allison. This is maybe the first time you're joining us um, for our Thursday morning power yoga class. So we're going to do a lot of abs today. Kind of get up, get moving, get your body warmed up, get ready for the day. So we will get started on our backs. Okay, so let's bring your feet a little bit wider. So about mat distance apart, just wide enough that you can let the knees come together and touch. If you need a little help getting down, you can, but just replant those feet. Closing down those eyes. Let's draw that low back down towards the mat. Okay, so just putting a little bit of pressure into the floor. So start to feel that core tighten up. Okay, again, we want those feet wide, but not so wide that the knees can't touch. So we do that so it helps to open up, relax through those hips. And one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. Take that big breath in through the nose. And exhale it out through the nose. Again, really big breath in. And exhale it out. This time we're going to take that really big breath in through the nose. We'll exhale it out. Now at the end of the breath, flex the abs, press all of that air out. We're going to keep that core nice and tight as we take that big breath in through the nose. So feel that really big expansion through that rib cage. Keeping that core tight, and then again, pressing that air out. So it's a little bit more active. We'll feel a little bit more stretch through that rib cage. It's maybe a little bit more of a forceful breath. So really hear yourself pressing that breath out. And then hear yourself pulling that breath in. So I like to call this the Darth Vader breathing. It's a little bit more active breath, just to help warm up the body, warm up through that core. And now just start to hug those knees into the chest. We're going to keep that breath throughout this practice. So again, as we hug the knees in, just give it a gentle rock from side to side. And now hug those knees in, round that spine, bringing the forehead to the knees. Now we're just going to extend it out nice and long. So on this first one, if you just want to lower those legs down, so just really squeeze those legs together, reach those arms up overhead. And so keep trying to pull that low back down towards the mat. And we can try and bring those thumbs. So here, I'll shorten. So my palms are facing each other, my thumbs are down. And then just extend it out a little bit too long for this screen. And then we'll hug those knees back in and rounding that spine, crunching up into that ball. Then we'll extend it out. Now, if you want a little bit more challenge, keep the legs lifted, those arms lifted. Again, if that's a little bit too much, just lower it down, but stay really active, pressing that low back down towards the mat. Good. Then hug it back in. Extend it out. Hug it in. Reach it out. Hug it back in. One more time. Extend out long. Hold. Breathe. Press that low back down towards the mat. And hug it back in. Just gently rock from side to side. Now we're going to keep those knees right over the hips, shins parallel to the ground, just flexing into those feet, reaching those arms up so palms are facing each other. Okay, so we're going to reach that right arm up overhead. Okay, again, that thumb is about touching the ground. Left leg is going to extend out. So when you're extended here, that low back stays nice and flat. And now we're going to bring it back to center, and then we'll switch sides. So that right leg extends down as that left arm reaches up overhead. You bring it back to center, and then we'll switch. So left leg, right arm, and center, and switch, center, and switch. Just alternating, pausing it when we're extended out, just to make sure that core is really engaged. Bring it back to center, and switch. So not only does this warm up through the abs, but we get a little stretch through, or maybe a big stretch. This is a big stretch for me today. Through those shoulders, back to center. Here we go. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, slow and controlled. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hug those knees. Just give it a little rock. And let's lower those feet down to the mat. Arms can just be right by the sides. Pressing into those feet as we lift those hips up. So really scooping that tailbone up, keeping that core really tight. Knees are tracking parallel. The thighs are tracking parallel to each other. As we try and scoop those hips up a little bit higher. And then slowly roll the hips down. So think one vertebrae at a time. Tailbone is the last thing to lower. Okay, now we'll reverse it. We're going to do that 2 more times. So roll the tailbone up first and try and feel each individual vertebrae as we lift through those hips. And roll it back down. And last time, press and lift. Roll it up. And roll it back down. Again, hug that right knee into the chest. That left leg can just extend out long. We're going to go into that half happy baby. So bring that right knee over to that right shoulder, grabbing onto that outside edge of the foot, and then we'll extend that leg out. So this is a little bit aggressive of a stretch this morning. Bend into that left foot, or bend into the left knee. Plant the left foot. That's what I'm trying to say. It is definitely early. Okay, so bring that knee, the right knee, right outside that shoulder. Think pulling that knee straight down towards the ground. So what I'm focused on is pulling the shoulder into the socket, kind of towards the ground, and I'm getting that in a bigger stretch through that inner thigh, the hamstring, maybe even that outer hip. Now, from here, you're feeling pretty good. Maybe you extend that left leg down towards the mat. So pressing through that foot, pressing that heel down towards the mat. One more breath. And then we'll release that foot. Come into that twist. So that left hand just guides that knee across. Right arm is reaching out. Take that big breath in. And exhale. And as we press that breath out, maybe find a little more twist. We'll bring it back to center. We'll switch sides. So again, you can start with that right knee bent, foot planted. We'll grab onto that left foot. So if you notice, my arm is going right inside the knee, in front of the shin, and I'm reaching for the outside edge of the foot. So I don't want to reach for the inside edge because it's going to internally rotate the shoulder, and it's kind of hard on that shoulder joint. So we want that external rotation of the shoulder by grabbing onto that outside edge of the foot. Now start by drawing that knee down towards the mat, pulling that shoulder back into the socket. And then if that feels all right, you want a little more, extending that right leg out. One more breath. And then we'll release. So right hand is just going to guide that knee across. Left arm reaches out. So again, that core is staying tight with that breath. Take that inhale and exhale. That breath out. Find a little bit more twist. And then bring that knee back to center. Hug those knees in. We're going to rock forward and back. We're going to cross those ankles, and we're going to step it right back into a downward facing dog. So hips straight up towards the ceiling, slight bend in the knees, pressing the hips up towards the ceiling, pressing those heels down towards the mat, spreading those fingers out, gripping with those palms. Those forearms are pulling towards each other. Core is tight, so lift that tailbone. Maybe having that slight bend into those knees as we press those heels down towards the mat. Now, if you want a little bit more of a stretch, come out. Keeping that back nice and flat. Flex your quads. Okay, so that's going to be these muscles in the front of the leg. Little flex there. Think pressing back, hips up, heels down. And we flex the quads. We don't want to lock out those knees. Okay, so we never want to be locked out. We just want even the tiniest of bend in the knee. And then come onto the toes. Bend those knees. Let's step those feet to the top of the mat. Sliding those hands up the shins. Find that half lift. Then exhale, slide those hands down as we fold. Little bend into the knees, flat back, rise all the way up to standing, reaching those arms up nice and tall, and then exhale, we'll bend it over to that right side. And inhale, bring it back up, and exhale it over to the other side. Good, inhale, reach it back up. We'll draw those elbows down, interlace those fingers, open up through that chest. We can keep those fingers interlaced, tight bend in those knees. Just press those hips back as we fold. So noticing my shoulders aren't rolling forward. I'm pulling those knuckles back, shoulders away from the ears as I fold. One more breath. And we'll release those hands down. Go and plant those hands. Go ahead and step it back to our plank. Feet are going to be a little bit wider. Just drop the heels to the right. Center, left, center. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shift the weight forward. Lower it down. Inhale, lift it up. So if that up dog is a little bit too much for you, you can always lower that belly down and just come into that cobra. So a little bit more gentle back extension. When you're ready, let's go ahead and send those hips up to the sky. Downward facing dog. And now let's come onto the toes. Bend those knees, step or hop those feet, top of the mat. Inhale the half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, we'll rise. And side bend it over to the right. Inhale it back up to the left. Inhale it back up. Draw those arms down. Interlace the fingers. Open up through that chest. Slight bend in those knees as we fold. Find that flat back on that inhale. Exhale, release those hands down. Step or hop those feet back. Again, just those twists with the heels. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it forward, shoulders over those fingertips, lower. Maybe stop in that low plank. Flip the toes. Lift that chest up into that up dog. Exhale those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. And now inhale on the toes. Bend those knees. Let's step those feet to the top of the mat. Bringing those toes together to touch. Inhale, we'll rise to standing. Reach it up tall, sinking those hips down into that chair. So sitting really, really low. Okay, back is flat. Trying to lift through that chest, but don't put this huge arch in the back to get there. Okay. The knees will come forward a little bit more as those hips sink back. So a little bit of a stretch through the ankles and the Achilles. Now bring the hands to heart center. We're going to twist, hooking that left elbow across that right thigh. So again, the hips lower, chest lifts as we twist. Bring it to center. Let's go to the other side. So we'll hook that right elbow across that left thigh as we lift through the chest and twist. Good, bring it back to center. Reach those arms up and straighten the legs as we fold. Lengthen and exhale. Plant those hands and step those feet back. We're going to go into that full side plank. So heels to the right. Left arm reaches up. But maybe you get a little fancy. And you can start to lift that left leg up. And then lower it down. Let's switch to the other side. Heels to the left. Right arm reaches up. Maybe that right leg lifts up. Now again, if you need to modify, just go and pop that knee down. You can even go here. There's our modification there. And then lower it down. Shift that weight forward as we move through that vinyasa. And then exhaling those hips up and back. Down dog. Bringing those feet together. Let's inhale that right leg up to the sky. Exhale, curl that knee to the nose. So I'm getting really light on my back toe. I'm hugging that knee to my chest, a little bit more weight in the arms. Inhale that hand, inhale the leg, that's the word, up. Exhale, curl it in. Inhale it back up. And exhale, curl it in. Stepping that foot through. Inhale that back. Heel is lifted, reaching those arms up, coming into that lunge. There we go. 3 times. We're going to lower that knee down. Slow, slow, slow. Pausing. So I'm pausing with that knee, just barely touching the ground. Pressing it back up. If you need a wall, go find one. Help you balance here. Again, lower, lower, lower. Tap, pause. Pressing that right knee out slightly, and then come back up. Last time, lower down. Good. Bring it back up. Back heel grounds down, shortening that stance. More like a warrior 1 stance. Reach it forward, and then lower the hands to the shin, ankle, or maybe the ground. Trying to keep that back flat. Trying to keep those hips level. So what that means is a lot of times when we fold, the hips likes to shoot out. I think it's usually to that right side. So pull that right hip back. Left hip is going to pivot forward. The hips, this is nice and flat. Your hips, tailbone, sacrum is flat as we fold. Good, then bend into that front knee. Let's reach those arms up, coming into that warrior 1. Draw those elbows down, open up that chest, and exhale, fold. And release those hands, rise back up. Lowering those hands down to the mat, sending that leg back, maybe into that 3-legged plank as we lower. Inhale, lift, and then exhaling the hips up, downward facing dog. Other side, inhaling that left leg up. Exhale, curl that knee to the nose. Inhale it back up. Exhale, curl it and hug it in tight. Inhale it back up, and exhale, hug it in. Stepping that foot through, and that back heel will stay lifted. Inhaling those arms up. Core is tight, squaring those hips off. Lower that knee down. Barely tap it to the ground, or just go as low as you're feeling comfortable with. Send it back up. We got 2 more. Lower down. Now again, driving that left knee out. So we want to fire that left glute. Bring it back up. Last time. Lower, tap. Bring it back up. Straighten that front leg. Ground that back heel down. So again, it helps to start with those hips square. So we want to pull that right hip forward. So think both these hip bones are pointing straight forward. And then from there, we're going to fold, flatten out that back. Don't let those hips sway. And then we can lower those hands down. Keep breathing. Feel that nice stretch to that front of the leg, that hamstring. And now we bend into that front knee, reaching those arms up. And then we'll pull those arms down, open up through that chest, and fold. And we'll release those arms as we rise back up. Lower those hands down, step it back to that 3-legged plank, and lower. Inhale, lift, and exhale those hips to the sky, downward facing dog. And then come onto the toes. Bend those knees, step our hop, those feet top of the mat. Big toes together to touch. Half lift on the inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, we'll rise. Exhale, sink those hips down to our chair. Sit low, relax those shoulders. Hands come to heart center. Twist it over to that right side. Bring it to center. Twist it over to that left side. Bring it back to center. Straighten those legs as we fold. half lift, and exhale. Plant those hands, step or hop it back to our plank. Again, drop those heels to the right. Left arm reaches up. Maybe that left leg lifts. Let's hold it here. Breathe. So again, finding any modification you need. Maybe that shin is down. Maybe that leg is still lifted. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Flip it around. Other side. So lifting that leg or modifying as needed. Good, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come forward to our plank. Front plank here again for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shift it forward, lower. Inhale, lift. And exhale, those hips up. Downward facing dog. And then go ahead and bring it forward to a plank. Just go ahead and lower all the way down onto your stomach. We're gonna come into that Sphinx pose. A little stretch through that front part of the body. Now we're pointing, you can't tell, but you're pointing your toes, bringing those legs a little bit closer together, maybe even touching. Okay, elbows, and you can slide them out a little bit more if that's a little bit too aggressive on your back, but we want the elbows to be right underneath the shoulders. I'm spreading out my fingers. I'm really gripping my fingertips into the mat. So I think we're pulling the hands back, pulling those elbows back as we lift up through the top of the head, tucking that chin just slightly. Now I'm relaxing my leg muscles. My core is slightly engaged as I find that stretch. My shoulders are down. I'm trying to lengthen out my neck. So I'm trying to reach up as tall as I can to the top of my head. I'm gazing down towards that top edge of the mat. So just a slight tuck of the chin. Go ahead and soften it down. Bring those hands underneath the shoulders. And you can keep those legs together on this one. We're going to send it back into child's pose. Okay, so I'm doing the knees together because we had that big back extension through this Sphinx pose. So now we're going to get a little bit of rounding through that back. So just being able to move that spine in all directions. Now, if you want, slide those legs out a little bit wider. So a little stretch through the inner thighs now. So you press the hips back. So the wider the knees are, the more that stretch we're going to feel inside of those legs, those thighs. And soften that head down. I think pulling that chest down towards the mat, you might feel a little stretch through that upper back, right in between those shoulder blades. So stretch through that thoracic spine. Lift up, walk it over to that right side. Big stretch through that left arm, left side body. Then we'll go over to the other side, to that left side. Big reach to that right arm. And bring it back to center. And come up to that seated position. Whew. How about you guys? That class went super fast. All right, anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Almost there. We're almost to the end of the week. Yeah, we got yoga again on Saturday morning at 9:30, so hope to see you all there. If I don't, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all later.